Now, Israeli troops have begun their withdrawal from the city of Jenin in the occupied West Bank. The offensive, the biggest in some 20 years, killed at least 13 Palestinians and left around 100 wounded. As those who fled begin to return, the Iranian-backed Islamic Jihad and other factions in Jenin are claiming victory. But the peace process appears increasingly fragile. Well, joining us now to discuss this is Oren Marmorstein, the Deputy Ambassador of Israel to the UK. Ambassador Marmorstein, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's a pleasure to have you on the programme. After this two-day military offensive in Jenin, are Israeli citizens safer after what happened?
Thank you, Kamali, for having me here this evening. It's good to be here. I want to start with a vital context. In the last 2 years, unfortunately, Jenin has transformed from a city into a city of terror. We're talking about a city that has become a safe haven for terrorists. And I'm talking about terrorists from different organizations, all, by the way, organizations proscribed as terrorist organizations by the UK government, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and they are all operating from Jenin. And they accumulated huge amounts of ammunition, weapons. Just last week, they fired 2 rockets at us. From Jenin itself, in the last year, 50 terror attacks were originated against Israelis. This is a terror hub that is happening 60 kilometers next to Tel Aviv. Just imagine what will happen if 60 kilometers just next to London, there is this terrorist hub. People are trying to fire rockets at you. What would you do? And what we did, we tried to go in. We actually did achieve and succeed in going in. We dismantled this terrorist hub. And once it was dismantled, we went out. We operate only against those terrorist infrastructure.
An ambassador, there are some 14,000 people that live in that area. I mean, is the idea that the Israeli army is going to march in there every couple of weeks, every couple of months, and just try and kill every terrorist that lives there?
God forbid. We are operating only when we are being put in danger. Now, the reason that those civilians, Palestinian civilians, are suffering is because of the cynical behavior, the cynical tactics of the Palestinian terrorists. They are using civilian facilities like mosque. We found a mosque with hundreds of weapons and explosive device inside it. We found a nursery with ammunition. What kind of people use those places in order to try to kill other people? So what we did is we did everything possible to avoid harming civilians, because this is important. Okay. We operate only against terrorists, and once we completed the job and we dismantled this terrorist hub that was just 60 kilometers next to Tel Aviv, we went out.
You said the job's been done.
That's our only purpose.
And Prime Minister Netanyahu says that he reserves the rights to carry out more operations. Does the current Israeli government still believe in a two-state solution? The reason I ask that is because there has been expansion upon expansion of settlements in the West Bank, illegal settlements that many people say are the reason why Palestinians in that region are so angry with the Israeli state.
Allow me to be personal for a moment. I have 2 daughters, one at the age of 10, the other is at the age of 7. My biggest dream for them is to grow up in a different environment, to have a peaceful relationship with our neighbors, with our Palestinian neighbors. I want them, inshallah, to visit Ramallah, and I want their friends from Ramallah to visit Tel Aviv. But right now, if you would walk in the streets of Tel Aviv yesterday, you might be ran over by a car. A terrorist ran over a pregnant woman and killed her unborn baby. So this is the reality that we are facing.
And Ambassador,
we want peace.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
If I may, we want peace. We are extending our hand in peace to the Palestinians.
But Ambassador, you know that extending your hand of peace when you're building more settlements is no peace at all for the Palestinians. They're seeing their land encroached upon every year, if they're seeing right-wing Israeli settlers in the government, in the presence of Itamar Ben-Gvir, how can they feel secure? Do they have a right to somewhere to live?
The bitter truth is that the terrorists, the Palestinian terrorists, couldn't care less about Israeli politics. And if you take a look what happened in the last year, we in Israel, we had two different governments, two different prime ministers, different policies. But in the last year, just in the last year, 52 Israeli civilians were murdered by terrorists. Politics change, but the Palestinian terrorists don't accept our existence, our mere existence in the Middle East. And this is what we're trying to do.
Sir, I appreciate that, and I heard you give that answer to another interviewer on another station earlier. And my point to that is that at the time when you're building more settlements, how can you expect the Palestinian people to feel like they are going to live in peace? They feel they're under occupation in the occupied West Bank, and they feel like their land is being encroached upon by these increasing settlements. Are you going to continue building these settlements?
We have no dispute with the Palestinian people. On the contrary.
Well, they don't feel like that, do they, sir? You know that.
And I will tell you something even more important. During this operation, when people were firing at us in Jenin, we had one soldier killed in this operation. During this operation, more than 100,000 Palestinians came to work in Israel. We insisted in maintaining this flow of normality. We care about this. We want to reach out and to maintain a path for peace. Okay. But unfortunately, whenever we're reaching out, we are being, in return, getting rockets and fire. So this is the cruel reality that we are facing.
Ambassador, I don't have loads of time. I do want to get another question to you. In that idea of building back normality, once the offensive was launched by the IDF, the president of the Palestinian Authority suspended contact and coordination with the Israeli state. Have the Israeli state now sought to try and re-establish that coordination?
So I will be very clear. We are hoping for a very viable Palestinian Authority. We would hope that the Palestinian Authority security forces would be strong in order for them to take care of the terror infrastructure in Jenin. This is the only reason why we were forced to step into Jenin, because the Palestinian Authority security forces did not do so. So we were forced to go inside Jenin to dismantle this terror infrastructure, again, 60 kilometers next to our Tel Aviv, our biggest city. Think again, 60 kilometers next to your biggest city in London. What would you do?
We were forced to,
if I just may, we were forced to step inside to dismantle this terror infrastructure, and once the job was done, we were out. We operate only against terror threat.
All right. Ambassador Marmorstein, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us, Oren Marmorstein, the Deputy Ambassador of Israel to the United Kingdom.